Welcome to the Purpose Cycle podcast, the podcast that brings listeners impactful practices to help you build towards fruition and fulfillment.
Insufficient sleep impairs your productivity and it causes brain fog. Studies have shown that a lack of sleep has been shown to produce deficits in performance and an impairment that is equal to or worse than a blood alcohol level of 0.05. No matter what journey you're on in life, you will encounter setbacks and perceived failures and obstacles, but the important thing is to learn the lessons and to fail forward, as I said. And I think after the last 12 months, I think we've all survived that, and I think that no matter who you are, you can say that you are resilient.
We're now going to go into sleep and the obviously the importance of sleep to yourself, to your overall productivity, your health, and like many other things you said about just hormone balance and all of these other great attributes connected to sleep. So I believe that you have some top tips for is it for achieving a bedtime routine or
so it's it's a 7-step bedtime or evening routine, and it's science-based strategies to improve your sleep naturally. So I created this routine because I personally struggled with sleep deprivation and insomnia for quite a number of years. And it was largely due to environmental factors. So I had disrespectful roommates. I was at one point living in a chaotic environment. I had a stressful job and I was working long hours. And then as I mentioned, at the end of my first season of competing, I was diagnosed with adrenal fatigue. And that was a pivotal point for me. It was kind of where I was like, okay, I have to do something about this now, because if I didn't do something about my sleep, I guess you could say I'd almost even reached a state of despair as well, because every day I was flat and anxious and tired. So I knew I had to do something about it. Otherwise, I felt as if I was going to feel flat and tired and anxious forever, which I know sounds a little dramatic and extreme, but when you are sleep deprived for such a long period of time, I guess that's just how you feel. So I did a lot of my own research. I was mentored by a sleep expert for a short period of time, and then I completed a sleep coaching qualification so that I could help others and add it as a service to my business as well. And so with all of my health and fitness clients, I make sure that they prioritize their sleep, and I give them this bedtime routine as well, which is what I follow as well. And I've been doing it for I'd say over a year now. And if you follow these strategies, as I mentioned, they're all science-based. If you follow all seven of them, you will find it easier to get to sleep. You'll find it easier to stay asleep, and you'll wake up feeling more refreshed and energized in the morning. And the great thing about these strategies is that they also help with anxiety and stress as well. So anxiety and stress is the underlying cause of insomnia. So treating your anxiety and stress as well is important when it comes to preparing yourself for sleep. So shall we get into it?
Yes, definitely, because I mean, this is something that I will definitely be able to take a lot from in my sort of line of work. It's quite a high pressure environment, and a lot of the times I've sort of woken up middle of the night and then stressing about what's going on next day. So I cannot wait to hear these, and I've got my notepad ready to take some notes.
Oh wow! I can send these to you as well. I can send it to you, and I actually have an sleep ebook coming out very soon. So I will give you a copy of that. So as I mentioned, anxiety and stress are the underlying cause of insomnia, and generally what you should do is around 2 hours before you go to bed, you should start winding down and preparing yourself both mentally and physically for sleep. So step one in my 7-step bedtime routine is to wear blue light blocking glasses, especially if you're watching TV, if you're reading, journaling, basically if you have any light on, even a dim lamp, you should be wearing blue light blocking glasses, and you want to start wearing these from about 2 hours before your intended bedtime. So the reason for this is because blue light suppresses melatonin, which is the sleep hormone, and blue light comes from your TV, electronic devices, so mobile phones, iPads, those computerized ebook things that people have. It comes from light. So you need to make sure that you're blocking that out. And what blue light blocking glasses do, well, there are actually two types of blue light blocking glasses. If in the nighttime you want the red orangey tinged blue light blocking glasses, so they're the nighttime glasses, and they block 100% of blue light. And by suppressing blue light, your body is able to begin generating melatonin, which is the sleep hormone. And so that's what you want at nighttime.
Yeah. How much more beneficial then are the blue light blockers than just putting on your phone? Because I know on a lot of phones now you can have like bedtime mode when it goes black and white. So
they don't completely block blue light. So even I have that setting on my phone at nighttime as well, but I still wear the blue light blocking glasses. So all of those settings, they don't completely block blue light, which is why it's important to wear the blue light blocking glasses. And if there's only one thing that you're going to do, it's wear these blue light blocking glasses, because they really do make a huge difference. And just touching on that, you know, you mentioned that sometimes you wake up during the night, you know, you're stressed or worried about, anxious about, you know, the next day and what you've got to do and have things worrying you. If you do find that you're waking up in the middle of the night, the worst thing that you can do is actually reach for your phone or turn on a light, because just 5 minutes of exposure to blue light actually delays your circadian rhythm by 2.3 hours. So what this means is that when you wake up in the morning, even though you're awake, it takes your brain and your body an extra 2.3 hours to actually wake up properly and feel alert, even if you are having caffeine and stimulants like that. So
is that one of the reasons then why, this was one of the questions actually, but when somebody wakes up maybe at 4:30, 5 o'clock, they feel wide awake, check the phone, I've got another 2 hours before my alarm, they go back to sleep, and then they feel horrendous afterwards?
Yeah, so it's partly because they've exposed themselves to blue light, which has suppressed their melatonin. And the longer you expose yourself to blue light, the more melatonin is suppressed. And blue light actually increases cortisol, your cortisol levels, which are your stress levels. Right. So if you are waking up at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning, your body is actually, your circadian rhythm and your body is actually designed, that's when your body starts to begin its waking up process and naturally increase its cortisol levels in preparation for you to wake up. But if you're waking up when that's happening, it's because you have too much cortisol in your body, and that can stem from excess caffeine consumption the day before, exercising too late in the day, anxiety as well. Certain food choices as well can keep you up. So alcohol as well. All of those things increase your cortisol levels.
Very interesting.
So then step 2 is to apply lavender oil to the insides of both of your wrists and the soles of your feet, or alternatively, you can use a lavender diffuser. So clinical trials have actually shown that lavender can reduce anxiety by 45%, which is just 1% below sleeping pills such as benzodiazepines at 46%. So essentially, clinical trials have found that lavender is just as effective, but the benefit of using lavender is that it is a natural remedy, so you don't get the brain fog and the drowsiness, feelings of drowsiness that you get the next day that you do get from taking sleeping pills. And the other benefit is that lavender it's a long-term and sustainable solution. So it's something that you can do every day, whereas you can't take sleeping pills every day. So yeah, lavender helps a lot. And lavender is something that you can use throughout the day if you are feeling a little anxious or stressed. That's something that I do sometimes, and I recommend to people who, clients who are maybe a little more prone to anxiety and stress. Yeah, so that's a good one and quite important as well. Then step 3 is to take a warm bath or shower. So the body produces melatonin when you have a cool core body temperature. So emerging from a warm shower into a cooler bathroom environment elicits the exact drop in body temperature that is needed in order for your body to begin generating melatonin and induce sleep. And you can also reapply the lavender then if you like. That's often what I do. Step 4 is to eat a dinner that contains tryptophan, a dinner or light bedtime snack that contains tryptophan and whole grain carbs. So tryptophan is an amino acid that boosts serotonin and melatonin, and whole grain carbs boost the production of serotonin. So serotonin is it's also known as the happiness hormone, and it is a precursor of melatonin. So that's why that's important. And foods that are high in tryptophan that you might want to include either as your dinner or as a light bedtime snack are things like chicken, turkey, salmon, fish, milk, cheese, bananas, pumpkin seeds, and sesame seeds. So they're all foods that are high in tryptophan. And then foods that are whole grain carbs are things like your oats, brown rice, popcorn, whole wheat bread, whole wheat crackers, whole wheat pasta, barley, and buckwheat.
Wow.
And
I've got a friend who's really into his dieting, and
yeah,
I believe that will be such a key answer because he's really into his foods, and I think that'll be
yeah.
a good one. So thank you for that one.
Yeah, well, people don't realize that what you eat can influence how you sleep and the quality of your sleep. And another good food item actually to eat as well as cherries. So cherries are naturally rich in melatonin, and a study found that cherries can lengthen your sleep by 85 minutes per night when consumed consistently for 2 weeks. So if you like cherries, then eat up.
Wow. I tell you, honestly, I'm finding out so much here. This is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. So the next step is step 5, and I think it complements step 4, which is eating food that is high in tryptophan and whole grain carbs. So step 5 is to take supplements that assist in reducing anxiety and support sleep. Now there are a number of vitamins and minerals and supplements that can assist with this. The 2 that I really like are magnesium and fish oil. So studies have shown that magnesium can reduce anxiety by 31%, and fish oil has been shown to lessen anxiety by 20%. There are other supplements that you can take as well. So you can take melatonin, ashwagandha, GABA, 5-HTP, calcium helps as well. And then, of course, you have your herbal teas like valerian teas, passion flower, and chamomile. All of those things help relax and calm the body, which is what you want at night before you're going to sleep.
Yes, fantastic.
And then step 6 is what we touched on before about employing deep breathing or meditation exercises, as well as activities that promote relaxation, such as journaling, yoga, reading, all of those things. So meditation has been proven to reduce anxiety by 60%. And we touched on that before, so I won't go over that again, but you can use apps like Headspace, which provide guided meditations, or alternatively, you can utilize deep breathing exercises because they've been shown to be just as effective. But you may also wish to complement these exercises with journaling or brain dumping, particularly if you are anxious or worried about things that you have going on tomorrow or in the future. And this is actually a tool that is often recommended by health professionals to help remedy anxiety as well. And then activities like stretching and yoga are quite beneficial as well. They help relieve tension and relieve your muscles as well. And research has actually shown that women who stretch for 15 minutes daily actually improve their sleep by 30%. So that's a little interesting fact.
Yeah, you're full of interesting facts there. Lots of research.
Yeah. And then step 7, which is the final step, is it's all about preparing your bedroom environment for optimal sleep. And this is actually quite crucial when it comes to sleep. So what you want to do is you want to aim to maintain a clean, cool, and dark bedroom environment that is ideally free of electronic devices. So this is the purpose of keeping your bedroom free of electronic devices such as your phone and TVs is so that your brain associates your bed with sleep and intimacy only. If it associates, working in bed is not a good thing. I used to do that, but if you work in bed and then when you try to go to sleep at night, your body and your brain associates that with a place of work, essentially, which is what you don't want. So to prepare your bedroom environment, you can do things like set your bedroom temperature, so the temperature of your air conditioning, to 18 to 21 degrees Celsius, which is about 64 to 69 degrees Fahrenheit. So this is so, your body maintains a cool core body temperature so that it can produce melatonin to help you feel sleepy. You can also listen to white noise. So white noise is actually really good. White noise has been shown to reduce the time it takes to fall asleep by 38%. And white noise is good if you have outside noise and other distractions, so it can drown those out. And there are apps that can help with white noise as well. So white noise is things like the sound of your fan, the humming sound of your air conditioner, the sound of rain, the sound of waves. And as I mentioned, there are apps that you can download and white noise playlists that you can listen to that have noises like that you can select. To keep your bedroom dark, you can use blockout curtains or a sleep mask. And another good tool, particularly if you are prone to anxiety and you are stressed, is to sleep with a weighted blanket. So a study found that 63% of people reported feeling less anxious when they slept with a weighted blanket. And that's largely to do with the way a weighted blanket is designed. So the weighted blankets are designed to provide a warm, gentle pressure that mimics the feeling of being held. And this is known as deep touch pressure. And this type of pressure has been shown to increase serotonin and oxytocin. So serotonin is the happiness hormone and is a precursor of melatonin. And oxytocin is known as the love or cuddle hormone. And it also acts as a painkiller as well. So those are the benefits of sleeping with a weighted blanket. I use one as well. As I mentioned, I follow all of these steps, and if you follow these steps, they make a huge difference in the length of time you sleep, the quality of your sleep, as well as how you feel in the morning as well.
Well, absolutely fantastic, Ali. I can imagine myself just constantly replaying this episode just to reinforce those habits there. Fantastic.
Yeah.
We're going to go to a couple of questions now.
Okay, sure.
Because I put it on my Instagram only a couple of hours ago, and we've been inundated with questions.
Oh, wow. That's good.
And I think it was really powerful that you've come on, because sleep is so important, and it's definitely an area of the life that I think people need to work on a little bit more. And I'm going to kick off with a question of my own, actually, before we move on. And it's to do with the sort of hustle lifestyle. You know, people seeing The Rock get up at 3:30 a.m. and, you know, I have to be up super early and I need to work super late to outwork everybody else. But of course, you can't do that if you're burnt out. So I heard you mention earlier you do get up early. But what sort of things would you say to people who have got this sort of mentality of I need to hustle and forget about sleep?
Well, maybe to sort of address that, I might talk about some of the side effects and impacts that insufficient sleep and that sort of hustle life has on your overall quality of life. So if you aren't getting sufficient sleep, after just one night of insufficient sleep, your cortisol levels, which are your stress levels, increase by 37%. And after 2 nights of insufficient sleep, your cortisol levels increase by 45%. So you are going to be more stressed, more anxious. You're also going to be less productive. So insufficient sleep impairs your productivity and it causes brain fog. And this fact that I'm about to share is actually really interesting. So studies have shown that a lack of sleep has been shown to produce deficits in performance and an impairment that is equal to or worse than a blood alcohol level of 0.05. So that's like being tipsy or drunk, depending on, you know, your frame and your build, the type of person you are, I guess. So you're actually doing yourself a disservice by, you know, thinking, oh, I've got to get up early and start working super early and work until late and only survive off, you know, 5 hours sleep. I used to be that person. I used to think that way as well. But you also depress your immunity. And a study found that sleeping less than 7 hours per night makes you 4 times more likely to contract a virus, which is quite interesting and quite relevant now.
Very topical,
amidst a global pandemic. Sleep deprivation and insufficient sleep also increases your hunger levels. So when you are sleep deprived, you have a 20% increase in a hormone called ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone. And you also have a 15% decrease in leptin, which is the hormone that controls satiety. And to top all of that off, your cravings for sugar and carbs, particularly excess sugar and carbs, increase by 40%. And this is because your body is trying to find energy because your body didn't get to re-energize and rest sufficiently as a result of your insufficient sleep. And so it's looking for the quickest form of energy, which are carbs and sugar. It affects your ability to lose weight as well. So there was a study done and it found that an individual who was on a calorie-controlled diet, who was sleeping 8.5 hours a night, lost 55% more weight than an individual who was on the same calorie-controlled diet but only sleeping 5.5 hours a night. Lack of sleep impairs your frontal lobe, which is the region of your brain that is responsible for judgment, your decision making, emotion, and appetite. And you also, this is something that I think a lot of people notice when they are sleep deprived, you are more irritable. And studies have shown that if you are sleep deprived, you are 52% more likely to argue with your partner. So I find that one interesting. I actually think it's quite true. And then, of course, that transcends to your other relationships as well, with your friends and family and even your work colleagues as well. So there are a lot of different factors. Lack of sleep also heightens and increases your anxiety and your mood as well. So, and all of that affects your productivity and how you work.
Suit Up Apparel is a new menswear company who provide customers with a compelling range of products that combine looking amazing with comfort. The team at Suit Up Apparel know how testing the day-to-day grind can be, so they've focused their collections around one simple phrase: look great, perform even better. Suit Up are offering new customers 20% off their order with the code WELCOME20 But don't worry, Purpose Cycle podcast listeners can get 10% off future orders by using the code PURPOSE at checkout. Go on to suitupapparel.co.uk to see the fantastic products on offer, and remember to stay sharp and suit up. That's a huge message to those people who are hustling, posting it on Instagram. I only got 3 hours sleep last night, hashtag team no sleep, and walking around with energy drinks.
I felt like a walking zombie. And
Yeah.
like I said, it would take me 3 times as long to get my work done. So, I mean, it's a bit of a no-brainer. Sleep is essential. And those are just the impacts on your quality of life and your productivity. That's not even touching on the increased risk to certain health conditions like heart attacks, diabetes, brain damage, dementia, and high blood pressure. Those are just some of the side effects, health effects as a result of insufficient sleep. So you're doing yourself a major disservice if you're just trying to hustle all the time and not get your sufficient sleep. And for adults, it is recommended that you get between 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And for me, I know that I do need at least 8 hours. Even on 7 hours sleep, I do start to experience some of those side effects that I mentioned just before. So, I mean, it is different for everyone, but any less than 7 hours isn't good. Your body needs to enter the different stages of sleep in order to achieve optimal health, both physical and mental. So,
well, I'll think twice then before joining Team No Sleep. So I've got a question here from Sean, and he says, "Why do I jump as I'm falling to sleep?" I think a lot of people have had this before when they're just about to drop off sleep and then they sort of shock themselves and wake up.
Yeah, that's because during the different stages of sleep, so there are 4 phases of sleep. The first 3 are to do with your non-REM, so non-rapid eye movement, and the final stage of sleep is your REM, which is your rapid eye movement, and it's because you literally fall into sleep. So if you're partially awake while that's happening, or if that happens during the first 2 stages of sleep, which are your lighter stages, it kind of jolts you and you sort of wake up because you do feel like you've just fallen.
Is that more common across people who are maybe sleep deprived or don't have as much of a routine, or is it just sort of a thing that can just happen?
It could be. It could be due to increased cortisol levels. So if you have consumed alcohol, if you consumed caffeine too late in the day or too much caffeine, if you've worked out or exercised too late in the day, all of those things. Generally, alcohol is an interesting one because people seem to think it helps them with sleep. It might help you fall asleep, but it actually contributes to your cortisol levels, and that's why you wake up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, because you have excess cortisol in your body. When it comes to exercising, you want to be exercising no later than 4 hours before your intended bedtime. Generally, I think it's best to do your cardio. If you do cardio, do it in the morning, and you can do your weight training in the afternoon. But like I said, you want to limit your exercise to no later than 4 hours before your bedtime. But I think the earlier the better.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I always struggle when if I'm playing for a soccer team, and we sometimes train and we finish at just after 10 o'clock at night, and I find it personally a nightmare because I first of all, I don't go to bed after 10 o'clock usually, and then I have to be up at 5 the next day, and I find it an absolute nightmare to get to sleep.
Yeah.
So mention that to the coach. So I've got another question which I found really interesting, because I wasn't sure either when I read this. Is it better to remember your dreams or to forget them? And why do some people forget the dreams?
I don't think it really matters, to be honest. I very rarely remember my dreams. I only remember them if it's like a nightmare. it's something that actually wakes me up.
Yeah.
But your dreaming stage generally occurs in your REM stage of sleep, so your rapid eye movement. And as I mentioned, there are the 4 different stages of sleep, and you throughout the night you're constantly cycling between all the levels. So it's not like you go through stage 1, then you go to stage 2, then stage 3, then stage 4, which is your REM and wake up. You're constantly going between all 4 different stages.
Right.
And so I think that has something to do with remembering dreams.
Wow, very, very interesting. Yeah, I think you've possibly answered this earlier in the podcast, but we'll just touch on it anyway.
Yeah, sure.
Is it okay to cleanse the body by fasting?
So your body is designed to detox itself. So fasting, intermittent fasting, is something that I do for its health benefits. So I think it depends on why you want to do it. If it's a form of weight loss, then the only way to lose weight is to be in a calorie deficit. And if intermittent fasting helps you achieve that calorie deficit by reducing the hours that you eat within, then it's great. But if you're eating like a pig, binging for those 6 to 8 hours of eating, then you're not going to lose weight. But as I mentioned, I like to I fast intermittently because of the health benefits. So it's really good for your brain health. So when you intermittent fast, your brain detoxes and gets rid of all the toxins. So it's kind of like essentially your brain's version of taking out the trash.
Yeah.
And this also happens when you sleep as well. And that's another reason why sleep is important. So I think intermittent fasting, it depends on the person, and it depends on the reasons why you want to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. And the next one is, what's your opinion on not eating meat? Is it healthier for your sleep to not eat meat?
I think it's a personal preference. I don't think you have to not eat meat. But I also don't think you have to eat meat. So as I mentioned, certain types of meat like chicken, turkey, salmon, fish, they're all high in tryptophan, which is the amino acid that boosts your production of serotonin and melatonin, so they can help you sleep. What you don't want to be doing is having a heavy meal too close to your bedtime. So if you are going to have a heavier sort of meal, even with your dinner, you want to be having your dinner or a heavy meal at least 3 hours before your intended bedtime, because digestion and breaking heavy foods down can cause you to stay awake. It can increase your core body temperature, which is what you don't want, and it can impact your sleep in a negative way.
Some great answers there, and that covered another 2 questions actually, because there was some questions about high protein and consistent diet, so that ticked those off really well. So last question before we move on to the final ones of the podcast that I have, and this one's from Sam, and he's taken a different direction. He says, how do you stay on top of motivation?
Okay, well, motivation is something that personally I believe you can't rely on, because motivation comes and goes. So, and that's where your discipline steps in, because whatever journey you're embarking on at the beginning, of course you're going to be motivated, but that motivation soon wears off. And that's where your discipline, which is achieved in your daily habits and your routine and being consistent, steps in. So it's not always about being motivated, because you're not always going to be motivated. You're not going to every day, there are days where I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to go to the gym, or I don't want to do my cardio, or I don't want to eat this meal, or, you're not always going to be motivated. And I think you need to know that, and know that that's okay. But as I said, that's where discipline steps in.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. The systems that you put in place, the discipline is so beneficial.
Yeah, but also, sorry, one thing I will touch on, that's also where working on your mindset helps as well. And there are podcasts that you can listen to that help with motivation, and there are books that you can read as well that assist with that. So,
Fantastic. Yeah, such as the Purpose Cycle podcast. There we go.
yeah.
So, two more questions. These are the questions that I ask every single guest. And the first one is, what 3 values do you live by?
Okay, it is difficult to narrow it down to 3, but if I were to narrow it down to 3, I think the first is definitely humility. I think it's incredibly important to remain humble no matter who you are or who you think you are or what you've achieved. It's very important to remain humble. I guess my second value that I would say I live by is probably loyalty. That's something that I value incredibly. I myself am incredibly loyal, but then I also expect loyalty in return as well. And the third value that I live by would be resilience. I think it's important to know and accept that no matter what journey you're on in life, you will encounter setbacks and perceived failures and obstacles. But the important thing is to learn the lessons and to fail forward, as I said. And I think after the last 12 months, I think we've all survived that. And I think that no matter who you are, you can say that you are resilient. There have been a lot of lessons in the last 12 months as well. So,
Yes, definitely a really good message there for the listeners. And finally, how can listeners make this year, the next 12 months, how can they make it their year?
okay, how to make 2021 your year? I think make sure that you are setting yourself up for success. And success lies in being consistent, it lies in your daily habits, the choices you make, and essentially it's about winning the day. So breaking everything down, ticking those boxes each day. And each day, I like to look at each day as a stepping stone towards your goal. And yeah, like I said, the more days you win, the closer you are to achieving your goal. I think you need to accept that you will fail at times. You will make mistakes. You will slip up. We're all human. We all make mistakes. We all fail. But failure is a stepping stone to success. And what matters is that you fail forward, you learn the lessons, you get back up on that horse and you keep going. Don't beat yourself up over it. Just learn the lessons and keep going. Keep focusing on winning the day. If you slip up today, that's okay. Just acknowledge that you slipped up and make a plan to get back on track for tomorrow. And it's really about knowing as well that you can't make significant progress carrying out the same behaviors and habits that got you into your original situation in the first place. So pay particular attention to your daily habits. Try and create new and better habits if that's what you need to do to set yourself up for success. And I think the other thing is to know that, no matter what is going on in your personal life, no matter what is going on in the world, focus on controlling the controllables. So control the things that you have control over, essentially. And there are always 2 things that you always have control over. The first is your attitude, and the second is your effort. So if you do all of those things, focus on your daily habits, your routine, and focus on being consistent, you focus on winning the day, and all of those days that you win accumulate and take you that much closer to achieving your goals. So set yourself up for success. That's my advice.
Fantastic. And I'm chucking in a bonus question because obviously we cannot forget this. So
Yes.
where can our listeners find you, and also how can they improve their overall health with you looking into the DNA, sleep, and health and fitness?
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is just Eather. I also have a website, which is just alieather.com, and you can make an inquiry there if you want. The DNA programming is really interesting. I think it's It's going to be the way forward in the fitness industry, especially over the next few years. But that essentially is a DNA test that you do, and then you send the results off to the lab, and it essentially tells you your genetic health and fitness blueprint. So if you genuinely feel like you've tried everything, you've tried all different types of workouts, you've tried all these different types of diets, and you're not getting the results that you want, particularly if you are adhering to them, because adherence, that's another topic, I guess for another day, but adherence is why most people don't achieve results. But there are certain things in your genetic makeup that can influence how you lose weight or how you gain weight, how you store your body fat, whether you store your body fat under the muscle or on top of the muscle, your injury, your risk of injuries, any sensitivities that you have to certain foods that you don't know about, your body's inflammation response. So a good example of that is some people have a high inflammation response to a lot of foods and things, but one thing in particular are artificial sweeteners. And if you have a high inflammation response to artificial sweeteners, that can increase your cravings for certain foods, which can make it even more difficult to stick to a diet. So it also tells you the way that you should train for your body based on your DNA, depending on what your goals are. There's so much information that you can find out, and essentially, like I said, it is your genetic health and fitness blueprint, and it just tells you the answers. It's essentially like a roadmap to how you can achieve the goals, your health and fitness goals. It's a game changer. It's definitely a game changer.
Yeah, I encourage all.
I have a link to that on the website as well. So
yeah, I definitely recommend the listeners to go and check that out, and especially checking out Ali on Instagram and on her website, because we've covered a lot today and there's been a lot of detail, and I thank you so much, Ali, for that. But this is just a tip of the iceberg into what she has on her website. All of the content and information that she shares really does go into detail, so I encourage everybody to go and check that out. Thank you so much, Ali, for joining us on the Purpose Cycle podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.